it's kind of, I don't know if it's just me, but the thing that I've really, perhaps it's this whole GameStop thing that's really sort of laying bare the amount of sort of fraud, corruption, sort of fugazi, just sort of thin air rubbish that the financial market seems to have become. And I haven't been looking at it long enough to know when that happened, but it feels like there's a real almost awakening happening of realization of how corrupt not just this is, but it feels like the world is like running on this ridiculous momentum. It feels like everything's like barreling forwards. I don't know, this is just me, like I could be totally alone in this, but with things like happening, for example, the DogeCoin rally going on right now, it seems like all of the madness just continues to escalate. Like the theory was that once Trump was gone, everything would calm down again, but this just seems to have gone on steroids. Like just the madness of the entire world.
like everything is just a troll market at this point. Like everyone's just doing things because it's funny to them.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it seems like, and like people are like, oh, you can't just invest in memes, and I'm like, I don't know, it's going pretty well at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, there'll probably be a bubble to it, and at the end, everyone's gonna just have a good laugh. I lost $50,000.
Yeah, I mean, it goes like full circle to the Wall Street bets like loss poured ethos.
Yeah.
What do you think's actually happening with DogeCoin? Like, do you think this is a serious estimation of people thinking this could be like the future currency, or do you think it's just,
I mean, it's
a bunch of memers?
I think it's as good as any other. Think about like the psychology behind Bitcoin and the psychology behind DogeCoin. There's 20 million Bitcoin that's all that'll ever exist, right? So in the future, the likelihood of a single human being owning an entire Bitcoin is really, really low because there's 8 billion of us and counting, right? But there's 38 billion Dogecoin. So you can say, hey, I have 1,000 Dogecoin and I can buy something that's not just with like fractional shares of a coin. I can buy it with whole coins. Right now with Bitcoin, the average person can't afford $64,000 or whatever it is for a Bitcoin. And if they're going to do any transactions, it's with strange, obtuse, really long decimal points. And, imagine like you go to a store and the store accepts Bitcoin. You want to buy a pack of gum, right? You're going to be like, okay, written on there's $1.29 for the pack of gum, or 0.000000000512369412 Bitcoin.
Yeah,
that's just asinine. Like the human brain can't comprehend or accept or even like seeing numbers like that presented to them. I mean, are we going to see scientific notation on all of the prices of everything from this point forward? Because it's 5.219 times 10 to the negative 7th is the price of something. It's just silly. Like it's easier to be like, 4 Dogecoin, done. All right. So, I think there's a psychological aspect to it.
I mean, I saw some people listing reasons why it still hasn't hit its peak yet, because it hasn't been listed on Coinbase. It's getting some like updates to it. It's going to be like Dogecoin 2.0. I don't know exactly like the specifics of the update. And
probably like
Elon Musk is going to put
or something. Yeah.
Oh my god, I hope so. But then Elon Musk is going to put. He's going to put like a literal Dogecoin on the literal moon. And I saw the tweet and I was like, he's 100% serious. Like, this isn't a joke either. And I saw that the thing we were talking about before as well. I saw this video, which again, I'll put in the description, of Elon Musk saying that, look, that fate loves irony. And that Dogecoin was created as a joke, as like a joke cryptocurrency, to be like, yeah, cryptocurrencies are all just a joke. I'm going to make the most memeiest, jokiest cryptocurrency you can imagine. And that it would make sense in our topsy-turvy 2021 world that would become one of the most like widely used and traded cryptocurrencies in the world. It's based on a meme. Yeah,
because we're just trolling each other because we have nothing else to do as a society.
Yeah, maybe that's actually just it. Maybe that's why cryptos have just exploded. We've just realized like the whole thing is a troll, so we may as well pick the trolliest of things to invest in.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the direction NFTs are going. Is that we're just going to have, someone's going to make meme NFTs, and those are going to be what sells for $1 million. Is going to be like the little girl with her back to the burning house or whatever, or you know, super cats flying through the air. I don't know. And Christie's auction house is going to be stuck auctioning off like thumb drives with these things on it. Up next is Farting Bandit. Opening price is £500,000.
Yeah, man, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's one of those things that I was having a discussion with a friend of mine the other night about. He was like, how can crypto be such a huge thing, and how can such like ridiculous things go for such huge amounts of money in the modern world? We were talking about like modern art or
Yeah.
any of like the collector's items that go for like millions more than they will ever like realistically be worth. And we were talking about how it's a sign of society just having too much money and time in its hands and just ultimately just spending it on frivolous rubbish.
Well, it's a lot of it. Well, there's two big reasons. One, money laundering, and two, tax
Yeah.
evasion. So I wrote an article on this on my blog years ago about how to launder money using gemstones. And let's say you are a member of the triad in Los Angeles, and you've got $30 million you have to get from Los Angeles to your boss in Hong Kong, right? If you try to transfer that $30 million, the government see it and they tax it and they figure out why you have $30 million. But if you go to Sotheby's auction house and you buy $30 million in gemstones, well, you take those gemstones, you put them on your wife, you take the loose stones, you make little rhinestones on your baby's jeans or something, and you buy a ticket to Hong Kong and you fly to Hong Kong. Well, you land in Hong Kong, take all those gems, take them to Christie's auction house in Hong Kong, and you sell them for $30 million bucks, and you just moved $30 million across international borders. If you want, I don't know, a Da Vinci painting, right? And you want to buy that Da Vinci painting, and you pay $120 million for it. What you do is, at least in the US, is you make a shed in your backyard, you turn it into a private art museum, a nonprofit, and you lend your painting every year to that museum. And so you get a gigantic tax write-off. The painting's worth a rental of $20 million a year. So you can write off $20 million a year every year. That painting hangs in your garden shed, which is a private museum nonprofit that you own and no one is allowed in, and you can appreciate your Da Vinci for as long as you want. And if you need the cash later, right, it's probably appreciated 15% a year, and you sell it for $200 million 10 years from now. So, these big auction houses are nothing but money laundering tax havens. So, if you have somebody paying $70 million for an NFT, right, they're probably doing something sketchy with that. And that, the idea is I can take this NFT and I can send it via email somewhere else in the world and pick it up and drop it off, and somebody else can own it. And so, there's these new mechanisms to launder wealth across international borders. And I think that's why we're seeing all sorts of weirdness come out of, these cryptocurrencies and NFTs. It's a strange world. I would love to benefit from it.
I mean, get drawing then.
Yeah.
Like my friends,
I need
my
art
friend and
skill.
Yeah. My friend and I's discussion was based basically around the idea as to whether this is like whether some people are buying these pieces of art, or what percentage of the people are buying the pieces of art, or whatever it happens to be, NFTs, modern art, any sculptures, whatever whatever falls into that category that you can think of. How many of them are buying it thinking this is worth my investment because I think it's so beautiful? And how many of them are all, whether consciously or subconsciously, bought into the idea that we just have to all continue to say things are worth this much so we can continue this scheme of money laundering and tax evading.
Yeah, I think you're right. uh, it's kind of an emperor's new clothes type situation. Like the minute somebody's like, "This is bullshit," and they are big and powerful enough, the whole thing might just come crashing down. I joked on Twitter before my account got eviscerated by Twitter. The NFTs were beanie babies for tech bros. It's one thing to like assign an ownership to a piece of art, right? But it's another, like, some of the NFTs selling are just garbage. They're just complete ironic pieces of garbage, and they're selling. I don't know if it's a joke or if it is like through money laundering or tax evasion or what have you, because why would you pay $200,000 in Ethereum for that? For like the LeBron James dunking that sold for like several $100,000. It's a GIF that's been on the internet for years now. So why some random person making that into an NFT, like, I own that NFT? Well, I can go to Google Images and I can get that GIF anytime I want. Like, what makes that one so special?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Do you think it's the fact that we've had so much money printed over the past year? Something like a fifth, my friend was telling me, of all US dollars were printed in the past year, and we've had like this monstrous like upward wealth transfer. Do you think this is just the money finding ways to be stored?
It's happening in all these markets.
Anywhere else to go.
Yeah, the housing market right now in America, home buyers, people that want to buy a home to live in, are competing with wealth funds that are trying to figure out places to store their wealth. And, in the UK, you guys have seen what happens when people are like, oh, it's safe for me to buy houses and I can just keep my money there. And all of a sudden you have just vacant homes everywhere that aren't being rented out, that aren't, they're being sold for just ridiculous amounts of money. And so if you are, Jim and Jill, and you've got $100,000 you can put down on a house, and you're competing with a fund that's worth, I don't know, $1 trillion, you're not going to win that bidding war.
No,
that wealth fund is just, they're buying anything they can to sink their money into it. So it's just being held somewhere, because having that much cash on hand is always dangerous.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, follow me on Twitter, or sign up to our mailing list. Thanks a lot to our sponsor, ExpressVPN, the #1 most trusted VPN. Get lightning fast connectivity with servers in 160 locations across 94 countries. Keep your browsing privacy safe with ExpressVPN, and get a 35% discount on 12 months of ExpressVPN when you follow the link in the description below. Don't forget, my book is now out and available to order on Amazon and on bookshop.org. That's Brexit, the Establishment Civil War. And most importantly, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.